Hi, Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and here's another interview in my series of interviews with subscribers. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. This is Stephen here from the Idiot Quilter, and I have a special guest today. And well, it's Shannon Way, and Shannon Way is from Sleigh Arts YouTube channel, and we're going to talk all about that soon. But she is a quilter, and I have been watching her videos, and I'm certainly impressed by her skill and her ability to teach other people how to do things in a very, very friendly manner, and professional too. So we're going to talk all about that. But let's start right in with where you're located. In general, you don't have to give me
Yes.
address.
All right. So the coordinates are
Yeah.
first, thank you so much for having me and for those kind words. That means a lot to me. So
Well, you're welcome.
I'm the daughter of a teacher. So hearing that I can it seems like I might be able to be okay teaching that means a lot. So I
Well, I'm
appreciate that. I
a
am
retired teacher, so we have common.
yes.
But anyway, sorry, I interrupted. You carry on,
No,
please.
no. I'm located in the States in Maryland, in a town called Frederick, Maryland, which is pretty cool, historic. Lots of like there's a Monocacy battlefield, so a lot of Civil War stuff, but also very artsy downtown. So I I'm born and raised in Maryland, but I grew up right outside of DC. So Frederick is kind of a different pace than what I grew up in, and I adore it. I love it. So I really am happy up here.
So a lot of quilters in your area?
There there's actually a couple of different guilds,
Hmm.
different shops, all within kind of 20 minutes. Um, Probably five shops within 20 minutes.
Well, that's pretty good.
Um, yeah. So getting on the highway, and so that keeps them the pace faster to get to them. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't actually joined any real face-to-face guilds yet, but that's something that I've been thinking about
Yeah.
as getting out in the
Right.
world is more and more normal.
Well,
So
we'll come back to that about guilds in a
yeah.
few minutes. But so tell me, how long have you been quilting? Is this a relatively new hobby, or have you been doing it since the day you were born?
No, actually, I'm a pandemic baby, I guess, as a quilter. I started, I've been doing quilting 2.5 years now. And I had started getting bored in the pandemic and actually started taking digital art classes for my iPad with a program where you create digital art. And I really wasn't very good. So I was looking for the next creative outlet, and I was watching TikTok and saw a young woman who was doing it was a quilla yeah quilted pillow quilt
Right.
out of fleece, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. So I, on a whim, ordered a sewing machine and some fleece from Joann's and put it together for my oldest. And that was it. I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. This is great. I enjoy this. And I dove in and haven't looked back since. And I, I mean, I have adult kids, they're in their 20s, and they've even commented of, we really didn't expect it to last this long, because I kind of hop from thing to thing to thing.
Right.
And I'm 2.5 years in and have no thoughts of stopping. So
Yeah. Well,
it's pretty exciting.
I think a lot of people were like you. They got the pandemic hit us all, and people were looking for something to keep themselves amused, entertained, and productive. And a lot of people did end up getting into quilting. I know my local quilt shop talked about the increase in sales and sewing machines during that time period. For me, I got started just before the pandemic, but yeah, like you, I'm a relatively new quilter, maybe a few more years on me now, like about I've been in about five. So
Okay.
yeah, it's never gotten old, so you've got
Yeah.
lots to look forward to. with all of this. So did anyone in your family influence you? Did you have any quilters in your family?
I've not had quilters, but my grandmother on my mom's side was a knitter, and she taught myself, and I'm the oldest of three girls. I have two younger sisters. Taught us how to knit, so I learned how to knit probably at like 7. But kind of do that on and off. Again, the nothing really sticks for too long thing. And but my mom was always into doing, she did cross stitch for a while and did ceramics and just tried everything. So I think that's where I get my adventurous, like nothing is out of the realm of possibility for a do it yourself. I mean, from cross stitching to fixing the toilets. That was my mom. She was on top of it all.
Well, so then if she was doing all of this and as an influence, so you must have done some other things too then before you got into quilting.
Yeah, I knit. I tried my hand at tatting, which is lace making, which was fun but didn't stick. Again, the digital art. But even as a kid, I played the violin and I did acrylic painting and water painting and just kind of always been, which is weird because I've never considered myself a creative, but I've always written and done poetry and stuff. So I've always been creative, whether I thought of myself of that as that or not.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think a
yeah,
lot of us have done other things. Like I come from a scrapbooking background, and before that, I tried it all too. I tried knitting, I tried crocheting when I was a kid. I tried, well, you name it, I was trying it. So yeah, but like you, I never really considered myself a creative. Well, I never considered myself an artist, because I
yes.
can't draw. Okay, I've never have been able to. But yeah, we're going to come back to this whole thing about quilting as an art form as well in a few minutes. But what I'd like to know now is, okay, in your 2.5 years of quilting, do you have a favorite creation?
Well, it's always what did I just finish?
Hmm.
But I will say the thing that is nearest and dearest to my heart is I had a friend reach out to me and ask if I would, very new into me quilting, if I would create a quilt for them to use to auction off and um, raise money for a child at their school. And I hadn't been doing it very long, but I was like, let's do it. Let's see. And I really loved it. I was so proud of it and so excited and to hear how well it did and that it was being used to support somebody who was going through some stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really, I think that's my proudest moment so far of, and it has kept me wanting to do the the things to give to different charities and make sure, because I have plenty of fabric.
Well,
I
we
can
all do.
certainly afford to give things to people who need that lift, and so that's become a big important part of it. So that was the first one, and that's the one that means the
That's
most.
closest yours to your heart. Yeah. Well, the first one you never forget, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, then, how many quilts would you say, and well, since you started quilting, you've made?
Hmm. Finished. Well, I've successfully made something for just about every member of the family. There are two left that I haven't made a quilt for. Um, so I feel accomplished with that. But I am very much notorious for starting and then being, like,
Yeah.
oh, look at that new thing, or
Uh-huh.
oh, look at that new line of fabric. I bet that would look pretty in this. And I'm I'm a whip queen for sure. I have so many works in progress.
Well, I think a lot of us do, and I call that squirrel syndrome, because you're working away on something and then you see this other pattern and you go, oh, I want to do that. And then suddenly you're doing that one and, oh, I want to do that one. And it just goes on. I mean, I'm a fabric and a pattern slut. I I have more
Yes,
patterns than I'll ever
it's
do in 1,000 years.
I joked at one point, I was like, could everybody just stop? Can you just stop making new patterns and stop
Yeah,
making new fabric for me just for, 6 months? Just give me some time.
yep, yep. Oh, you'll probably need more than 6 months, but yeah, and I think
Yeah,
we're all in the same boat. That's just what keeps us going, just something right
yeah,
new around the horizon, and we, have to get at it. So
yeah.
we're talking about giving quilts to charity. So have you given many quilts to charity, or do you keep many for yourself, or?
I I actually I haven't made myself one at all. So there's okay, so three family members that I owe a quilt to. But I've done not just quilts, but also there was a drive for drawstring sacks to put things in. So um if I'm watching a YouTuber and they're talking about what they're doing, and if it sounds like, oh, I can do that and I can do that quickly so that I don't lose focus,
Right.
I'll jump on board. So not just lap quilts or even like little bags or the drawstring bags or things like that, but if there's anything that kind of speaks to my heart, I guess. Most recently, I was watching the guy who sews, and he had on someone talking about comfort cases,
Hmm.
which is for foster kids in a foster program. And I've got a couple that I'm waiting to actually sandwich and start quilting. So yeah, I just kind of float from one to the next.
Very good. Well, that's really good. But a lot of people who do a lot of charity quilts, they often say they don't make anything for themselves. They're giving them all away. I'm the exact opposite, and I'm trying to break out of that. I have a pile of quilts after the last 5 years, and I have given some away. My idea this year was I wanted to give more quilts to a group called Project Linus. You may have heard of it
Yes.
for kids.
Yep.
To date, I have not done that yet because I keep seeing a pattern that I like, and I think, oh, I want to get that one done. But I'm going to do it. I've got to let go. They have to go out into the world. It's
Yeah.
like your children. You
Oh yeah.
keep them close, but you got to let them go.
Yep.
So, what kind of quilter would you describe yourself as? Are you more lean towards traditional, or are you into modern or free form, exploratory, experimental? How would you characterize yourself? It's an unfair
I
question.
kind of hippy dippy. I will whatever strikes me as interesting at the time. I have folks like the quilt that I'm working on behind me is Stephanie Stitch's spring project box, which are colors that I like. Green's my favorite color, and so how the other colors play with green and this is awesome. But I will try anything. I try to not let fear keep me from trying any of the techniques or anything. I've done Y seams, partial seams, all that kind of stuff. I guess my favorite right now, because I kind of have a goal in mind, is doing FPP.
Uh,
Um, and so that's foundational paper piecing, which is similar but different from English paper piecing.
yes.
Involves paper, but not put together the same way. So I guess that's my favorite area right now is doing that technique.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing about quilting too. There's all kinds of different techniques, and to pigeonhole, and I don't know if you heard me say, but this is an unfair question when I asked you, because you know, we like you said, you see something, you like it, you'll do it. You will not necessarily exclude something because, oh, it's not traditional, oh, it's not modern. And I like the term hippy dippy with it because yeah, if I formalized hippy dippy, I would call it eclectic. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
uh, but I mean, yeah, because why limit yourself? There's just too
Yeah.
much fun to be had out there and too much creativity for it. So,
That's exactly the fun. There's just so much fun in trying the new thing and making the mistakes and figuring out how to MacGyver your way out of what you just got yourself into. It's just so much fun.
well, that's one of the things I like about quilting. It keeps your mind active because it's problem solving. Because I don't care what anybody says, nobody makes a perfect quilt the first time, if not the other. I mean, I know that from today. I had a little weird thing happened, but that's why I call myself the idiot quilter, because it was an idiot mistake. But yeah, you move on with it. You don't
Yeah,
let that hold you back. And as you said, MacGyver it. Yeah, there's no police standing over your shoulder. Some people get really uptight about that, and I say, the heck with it. And Quilting Marine always says it's just fabric and thread.
right.
It's not
And
the world.
I don't have time for people trying to police what I'm too old for that. Leave me the heck alone. You
Yeah.
deal with your own life.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm assuming you are doing this interview in your sewing area.
My very brand new sewing area that
Well,
I literally just put
describe it,
together in a couple weeks.
please.
No, it's very public. I had been sewing. So I work remote, so I work from my home, but I go from my bed to my office chair to my sewing machine all in a so my office computer is here, my sewing machine is here, and the bed is behind me. And I was just always in my room, and I felt so out of touch with those adult kiddos came home during the pandemic, basically, and
Right.
I felt out of touch with them and with my pets, and I just felt like I was in a hovel, just never the troll upstairs. I don't know, like I was never around anymore.
Yeah.
So I took over this little area in the living room. So when the kids are watching TV, I can be watching TV with them and interacting with them. And if they're watching some crazy stuff that I don't want to watch, I can put my headphones on and watch YouTube channels like the Idiot Quilter.
Well, of course, of course. Okay.
Why would I
Why
not?
would you watch anything
But
else? Yeah, really.
but yeah, it's pretty new. Just some Billy bookcases from IKEA. They're pretty popular.
Yep.
But it makes me happy. I've been very ecstatic to be down here and a part of. I had to kick them all out today. I was
So-
like, I've got stuff happening. Don't come in the house.
but you're right. Quilting can be very isolating. If you're in a room, you're by yourself, you kind of shut the door and you get lost in the whole process and forget that there's actually a world beyond that door that you could be part of. And I've heard other quilters say the same thing. Like they'll take over their dining room. They're saying like, I don't we don't have people over for dinner or anything anymore. This is just sitting here, huge table. Let's make use of it, kind of a thing.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
so you make do with whatever you've got that makes you, and you said it's your happy place. And if that makes you happy, then go for it. So, do you have a favorite tool that you can't live without, something you'd reach for every time you're working?
So I had mentioned Stephanie Stitches. She is definitely my dealer, my pusher for the Easy Press pen.
Oh,
I use it for everything. Even I even use it with FPP to get the seams super flat. I just make sure not to go too heavy because you can mess the paper up then. But I adore that. I mean, aside from my sewing machines, of course, but
of course.
the notion that I use the most is that pen for everything. She's right, and I will forever be
Yep.
coming to her for the supplies for that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know exactly. I've got it too. And I love I don't really use the pen as much as I do use like in a spray bottle for that, especially
yeah,
that nasty seams that just don't want to go the way you want them to go. It's a
right.
brilliant product, and it happens to be a Canadian product as well.
Yes,
So,
yes.
plug in there for the acorn people. But so do you have a favorite technique?
So right now it is FPP. If we're gonna say that is if that just kind of seems to be like a lifestyle FPP. I like the crisps and the I can go very OCD with FPP and the point everything just matches so nicely. But when I get frustrated with that, I do like being able to go into any other thing, maybe make a bag where, if your seams aren't exactly right, it's the bottom of the bag, who cares, nobody's going to
Yeah,
see it. but
exactly.
but yeah, FPP is kind of my sweet spot right now.
Yep, yep. And it's a lot of people's sweet spot right now because I'm seeing a
It's
lot
super
more.
popular.
Yeah, it's very, very
Yeah.
popular. And the thing is, I've done it. I'm not really a big fan. I don't hate it. I
Yeah.
just, I have to get into it. I guess that's what I have to say. Once I'm into it, I'm fine. I'm ripping right along. But it takes me a while. I still prefer actual piecing, mainly because I'm an
Well,
idiot and I cut my fabric too short every time.
well, and also when you're doing an FPP pattern, you're doing that FPP pattern. There's not a lot of maybe aside from some fabric choices and color choices
Yeah,
that you might be able to make, but you're following how they lay down those lines. There's no riffing
yeah,
when you're doing that. So that part of it can feel a little stifling, which is nice to be able to move to a pattern where maybe you don't like half square triangles, so you're going to do something else in place of that block that they've decided, where you have a lot more creative freedom in other patterns.
yeah. Very
So
true. Very true. So you mentioned you have sewing machines. How many sewing
yes.
machines do you have?
So not too many. I still have the little Singer patchwork that I bought 2.5 years ago. And that one's actually down here in the main area and still upstairs next to my, so in case that my work coworkers are watching, which I don't think they are, but I never turn on the Juki during conference calls that I am bored out of my mind. Never have that on. No, 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 no. But yeah, so the Juki, it was a Christmas birthday present from my son, which is exciting. It was the DX 2000 QVP,
Mhm.
which I really like a lot. And then I have a Juki Serger. So and I have recently put that to work. I got to make some kilts for kids in a school play, a middle school play.
Okay.
So I got to put my serger to use, which I really hadn't since I bought it.
Right. Yeah, I know
So,
I have one too. But so
mhm.
have you been tempted to try doing a quilt using the serger?
So the woman that I work with, the main costumer, she's been doing this for 35 years, and she was like, "How have you not made a quilt on your serger yet?" And I was I was like, "That's a lot of thread to use for one seam in a quilt. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's wasteful." I didn't say that to her. I didn't want to offend her. I was trying to impress her, but I was like, I don't know. That seems like a lot of thread. I think I'm going to stick to the way I'm doing it."
Yeah, I've
So no,
thought of trying it too, but no, but I have seen some videos where they show some very interesting techniques with the serger for it from the quilt show.
yes,
Like
I
fancy
saw
stuff.
it where, yeah, where they were actually doing the stitching like on top. So
Right.
it was decorative. I
Yeah.
had not thought of that. That's kind of cool, more of a artistic way, but just
Yeah.
for piecing, uh,
Yeah.
that's too
No,
much
I
strain.
I agree with you. I think it's too much there for that.
Yeah.
So now we've been talking about equipment. So if you had all the money in the world, is there a piece of equipment you'd invest in?
I'm definitely on the I want a long arm
Mhm.
bandwagon. Yeah, I really do. Um I have every quilt that I've made, I've manhandled through one of these two machines. And I really enjoy matchstick quilting,
Mhm.
the really, really close line quilting. I really enjoy that. So that's pretty easy to do in the two of the domestic machines that I have. But it seems so cool to do on a long arm where you can, I mean, the sky's the limit with the thread
Yeah.
painting that I've seen people do and the different motifs. That just seems so fun. So
Yeah.
one of these days,
I think there's only been ever, when I've asked that question, I think I've only had one, maybe two people who have said to me they did not want a long arm
yeah,
kind of thing. And I think they're crazy because I have a long arm. I absolutely love it. And there is just, I mean, long arms are not easy. they're not plug and play. You know, you got to toy with them too, but it makes your job. I mean, just basting a quilt alone on a long arm, that's worth the money as far as I'm concerned. No more
Yeah.
getting on the floor and then trying to get back up. And I don't know
Oh
about
my
you,
gosh.
my age, getting back up is more difficult than getting down. So,
No, no.
but yeah,
I would need everybody in the house to come help me get back up again.
yeah. But I think most
Yeah.
quilters will say, yeah, I'd like to have their own long arm. So you've been doing them on your own domestic machines. Have you ever done what they call quilt by check, where you take it to somebody?
No, I have not, which is embarrassing because being friends with Stephanie and who does that, I have not because and not because I fully think that if you send your quilt to somebody to have it quilt, it's still your quilt. You still did it.
Right.
And I know some people are weird about that, but I think they're wrong. So
Yeah.
sorry, but I am totally on board with sending them away. My thing has just always been, oh, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the
It's
thing. It is. It's a
it's a
lot.
lot of money.
Yeah. And I,
Yeah,
so that's why I've never done it by check. You know,
yeah,
I've rented time on long arms before I had my own to see what they're like and everything like that. I took a few courses and that kind of thing. And well, I am not a free motion quilter at all. I admire people who can do that. I think it's a wonderful and artistic and the whole bit, but I don't have the patience to do all the practice that it takes to do what they're doing. That's why I have the computer system on mine, because I love technology.
yes,
and that's
yes,
and that's something I like about quilting period is I like the gadgets. I'm all about gadgets. But
yep.
anyways, this is not about me. This is about you. So let's turn our thoughts now. We were mentioning it there about guilds and things, and you said there were some in your area, but I think I heard you say that you've never really belonged to a guild. Now, is that because you don't have the time or you just don't, you're not really interested in it? Or what are your thoughts about guilds?
So when I started, it was in the middle of the pandemic and nobody was getting together. So it just didn't seem like that important at the time. And the global world of YouTube University, I felt like I was getting what I needed at that time, you know, to learn and I mean, I really watched I the TikToker, I was like, oh, I want to do it. But then from going from just those squares, I watched hours of videos before I ever tried anything because I wanted to make sure I understood the process. So by the time I started, I felt very comfortable. So I just felt like that part had already been taken care of, kind of that support for me.
Right.
And then I joined virtually the Modern Quilt Guild because they were doing Zoom classes and everything, and they had speakers that I'd watched on YouTube or Instagram, and I was like, oh, I want to be a part of that. So I joined so that I could take advantage of the classes. But I I just yeah, I guess it's really the time. I don't have the time to
Yeah.
I'm also I'm in a comedy improv troupe.
Oh, okay.
So that also takes time, you know,
Right.
half of the
Mhm.
week is dedicated to that and then half the week to quilting and stuff and you got to find time for family and you know, feeding people in the home and stuff like that. So the idea of leaving the house another night to go and I don't that sounds so mean, but I don't know. My dance card is full and I
Yeah.
have enough friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true. It's very true. And you know, you mentioned about with the pandemic and you know, guilds weren't meeting in person, but many of them went to Zoom. And if anything good came out of the pandemic, I feel it's Zoom because well, we're doing
Yeah.
what we're doing right now. You can join a guild through Zoom. You don't have to leave the comfort of your home, and you can go to retreats as well. Now, some people will say,
Yes.
you know, they like the be around other people. But I have found Zoom retreats are you're still around people, but all my
Yep.
stuff is here. I'm not packing it up, traveling somewhere, spending money on accommodation, spending money on food, and the whole bit. That's all money that could be going into to fabric, you know,
Yep.
kind of a
It's
thing.
very true. And having just done your Zoom retreat, which I thought, because when you had said there are going to be about 80 people, I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of people talking over each other, and it was so smooth and so much fun. so I like having both because I've done Stephanie Stitch's
Yeah.
go-to retreats, which have been fantastic. And then the Zoom retreat, and I'm like, oh, this is the best of both worlds. I can have people time. And I like being able to go upstairs to my room when I'm done peopling, and I will come back when I'm in a better mood.
Yes,
um,
true, true. There, there are advantages to being able to turn down the sound or turn off your video part,
there's
in
a lot to
Zoom.
be said for
There's
that.
that's for sure. So, let's change the topic a little bit and talk about where you get your supplies. Now, you mentioned there's about 5 quilt stores within around 20 minutes of you as well. So, do you like to buy mostly stuff from a brick and mortar store, or are you more an online shopper or combination thereof?
I'm a child of the technology world, I suppose, and I do a lot of my stuff on the internet. And probably because I became so comfortable because I started in the middle of the pandemic, and it's the first thing I think of. I don't even think of getting in the car and going to the shop to get what I need when I know that I can find it either on an Etsy shop or with the folks that I've already bought from. I know what they have and what they don't. It's and it does make me sad because I do really appreciate those small shops. So I do with friends make sure that on a regular basis we are going to the local shops and we are putting our money to what they're doing. But it's just not the first thing I think of. And the ease of I know I can find exactly what I want, and I don't have to maybe rethink it on the fly because where I'm at doesn't have what I want.
Yeah.
The ease is really big for me.
Yeah, I agree with you too, because I do a lot of online shopping, but I do go. I was out this afternoon at one of my local quilt stores and dropped a bundle there.
Yeah.
But but I know some people don't like to do that online shopping because they want to feel the fabric, and but I have found if you buy brand name, big names out there, your quality is still you're going to get the same quality, but to
Yeah.
its own, you know.
Right.
Do
Yeah.
you
And I
like
have not
open it?
found the quality to be poor when
No.
I've ordered it from places. But yeah, I mean, it is fun to go. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
I have a Kindle, but I still love to end up in a bookstore. Just the
Mhm.
smell of a bookstore, the
Yes,
whole,
I know.
yeah,
Yep, I know
yeah.
exactly what you mean by that. So you also talked about that you are a graduate of YouTube University, as people are calling it these days. So did you have any, or do you have any favorite experts or sources of information or assistance or inspiration on YouTube or other places?
So I think I started with like, where kind of where everybody else talks about where they started with Jenny Doan and Donna Jordan, the fabric fat quarter shop rather, were and the I love the difference between Jenny Doan's it'll be fine
Yeah.
mentality, and then Kimberly Jolly's do it by like the paper so it's precise and exact, and don't stray from that.
Yeah.
So that
True.
kind of two
Dichotomy, yeah.
people talking to me. That was fun as I was learning how to do it. I was like, oh, I can be as anal as I want, but I can also be pretty chill about it. Just depends on where I'm at, I guess.
Yeah.
But over actually a picture just came up that I had taken of one of my cats. And in the background, it was 2 years ago yesterday, in the background, you and Walter were on my TV screen. So for 2 years at least, I've followed you. I've followed Stephanie Stitches, and I really like to. I will watch the big ones, the big folks, but I like hearing how just the regular people are figuring it out. And like I said, I talked about the MacGyvering thing. I like the just figure out, make it work for you kind of folks. And so those are the voices I like to hear more often than not.
Yeah, actually, I'm the same way. I started with the biggies when I first got into this. I love Jenny Doan. I love Donna Jordan, Angela Walters,
Yep.
the Fat Quarter Shop and all that kind of stuff. But in the last, maybe year and a half, I have drifted away from them now and more into I want to find the other people who are, well, like us, just
Like us,
everyday
yeah.
quilters, and I want to see their mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't hide them from me. I mean, you don't see Donna Jordan with a mistake. You don't see Jenny Don't with a mistake, you know. They may be a little laid back about what they do, but they're not showing you the mistakes
No,
they make.
it's
And
very
that's
produced.
intimidating. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
produced. And that's very intimidating, I think, for anybody who's just starting out in this. And that's why I started my channel, the Quilter. I want to show people the stupid things that I did, but more importantly, how I didn't let that crush me, you
Yep.
know, how you
Yep.
go on beyond that. So
Yep.
yeah, I agree. And you can learn so much from all the other little people, so to speak, in the community because
Yes.
everybody has something to share. And I think that's important. So,
There's no one right way to do anything,
no,
and to be able to hear so many different people's ideas and tricks, I just think it makes you a better quilter.
yeah, there's a wealth of knowledge out there just amongst the common folk. I guess if we should
That's a
call
trick.
ourselves that or not. But so talking about YouTube, then let's talk about your YouTube channel. And it's called Sleigh Arts. So I have to ask you, why is it called Sleigh Arts? I think of winter, Christmas, a sleigh, reindeer. I don't think
Yeah,
anything.
unfortunately. Yeah. So I hope there are no identity thieves out there, but my first name's Shannon, my middle name is Lee. So
Uh,
Sleigh.
okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Hey. In my head, I say it with a bit of a twang to it, so it's more like sleigh than than play.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just not spelled that way. But yeah, it just that I had originally created it thinking in that digital art phase,
Right.
that I was in, that I thought I was going to be putting digital art up. And then 3 months ago, I was like, oh well, I'm not really doing that anymore, but I'm getting interested in this FPP stuff. Maybe I'll start putting some of that stuff up. And so it's pretty new of me having videos out just 3 months. But it's been so fun. And thanks to some gentle prodding from friends, I've finally actually put my face on the
Oh,
channel,
okay. Yeah.
which was very intimidating. Very yeah, that was a big jump for me, but it it's been so much fun, and people are so I know that there will be the a-holes. I know that there will be. So far, there've just been fantastically wonderful people who have been nothing but supportive and have asked questions and put comments in the videos and everything, and it's been wonderful. So I'm excited about it.
Well, don't let the trolls get you because you inevitably you're going to get one or two trolls every now and then. And you always have the power, as I always say, you always have the power of the delete key. Say bye-bye, troll. Uh, you don't have to engage them, nothing. They're just there getting their jollies from whatever. And I think they're just sad, sad people. Uh,
Yeah.
they should have, and it is doing a YouTube channel is an extension, I believe, of your hobby. And there's a lot of work involved in doing a YouTube channel. There can be more work depending on how you want to go about it. I tend to be a little lazy, so I don't edit, and that's pretty apparent in my videos. But because it's part of my hobby, and if it doesn't bring me joy, as what's her face who tells you how to organize your underwear drawer out there,
Yeah.
if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. And that's the way I look at it. For me, it's not a business. It's not
No.
for making money. I just want to share my journey with everybody. So yeah, I hope that comes across on my channel with it. But yeah, don't let the trolls get you. I mean, it
No.
will hurt. It will hurt because we put so much of ourselves. Like you said,
Yes.
you were afraid to show your face. When I first started doing YouTube, all you saw were my hands doing,
Yeah.
stuff on it. And then one day I decided, okay, it's time to show the face. There was a great scream of horror. And then once people
Is
got,
that what that
this
noise
was not,
was?
that was what it was. Once they got over the initial horror, then it was fine. So, so anything else you want to say about your channel? Like, what are your plans for your channel in the future? Do you have any like ideas for developing it?
So my goal in really starting to put videos out there is I'm trying I've applied and I'm hoping to become a certified instructor with Legit Kits, which is FPP.
Mhm.
They're super popular right now, and I feel kind of like, oh, I'm a part of the cool kids. I jumped on that bandwagon before everybody else. So like that's my hope, is to become an instructor with them. If that never happens, that's fine, because I'm also having a really good time having the channel. I just want to continue to, people have talked, like everybody talks about some things are oversaturated and things like that. I just think that there's always somebody who needs to hear what you have to say.
Mhm.
And there are always new quilters, always new quilters, always new people who are looking for a new technique or a new way to do the same technique that they've been doing. So I just feel like there's space for everybody. So if I never become a certified instructor and I can just continue to share the fact that I really do love to do FPP, and I can help people make it easier for them and understandable, that's cool with me. I'm totally on board with that. But yeah, the goal right now is to become an instructor, and I'm hoping to use the platform of my channel to show my interest and the fact that I can teach people in a somewhat coherent manner how, how fun and how enjoyable and how not intimidating it has to be.
Yeah.
So
And I think too, what attracts, or from my experience, I think what attracts people to certain YouTube channels is not necessarily what they're teaching. I think it's the personality. They come, if they feel they have a connection with that person, there's something you have in common or whatever. I think that's what keeps people coming back time and time again as well.
yeah,
I mean, there is a wall between Donna Jordan and her viewing audience, between Jenny Doan and her audience, and those kind of things, because not because they don't have nice personalities or anything like that, but because they you just have a sense that they're on a level that probably many of us are not. So it distances
yeah,
us.
yeah,
And I think that's why people are often looking for what else is out there on
yeah,
YouTube, and giving them lots of selection. I think that's a good thing.
yeah.
So the other thing I want to ask you then, as we're talking about the development of your channel, is in general, do you have any challenges or goals for the future then, like maybe certain projects or techniques or things you want to explore?
So just recently I had brought up the idea of a 2-color quilt challenge to Stephanie Stitches. And I have said it before and I will say it again. If you ever bring anything up to Stephanie, be prepared for the next day to start,
Yep.
because she was like, let's do it. And I'd never collaborated with anybody
Yeah.
before. And it just seemed like a fun thing to do with her. And somebody had asked, because we do the cotton cuts
Mhm.
lives on Saturdays on her channel. And someone had brought up, oh, were you guys thinking about doing something else? And I still feel like I'm such a nobody. And I was like, I don't want her to feel like she has to do something with me. But you know that Stephanie is the nicest human being
Oh,
in
yes.
the world.
Yes.
Uh
I'm very
Hands
happy
down.
to call her a friend. I can
Yeah.
tell you that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she was like, yes, of course, let's go for it. And so so that's the newest thing, is I'm collaborating with a fellow YouTuber, and I'm so, because how you were talking about the technology, I'm so geeked out because I get to like figure out how to have her join my Zoom coming up this next Tuesday. Have her join my Zoom and put that onto YouTube. I'm totally geeking out about all the different technology that I can use. I figured out Nightbot the other day, and
Oh,
I'm like,
yes.
oh, this is so fun.
Oh, I know exactly where you're coming from. For sure, with all of that.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice for anyone who might want to get started into quilting? And since you've only been doing this for 2.5 years, but I am sure just by listening to your comments and things like that, it seems like you've been quilting for 20 years. So what would you say? anything you would say to anybody who wants to get into quilting but might be hesitating?
I just go for it. Like the there are so many voices in your head as an adult, and I think we forget about the whimsy and the this sounds like on such a soapbox, but for me, once my kids, like, I successfully raised them and they graduated high school and they were doing what they wanted to do. I was like, okay, it's time for me. And there were voices in my head that were telling me, oh, you can't do that, you're too old now, you're too whatever, you blah 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 blah. And a couple of years right before the pandemic, I was like, you know what? No, I'm doing whatever the heck strikes my fancy. And I'm doing it with like this childlike wonder. Just go for it. And that's what I would say to anybody, no matter what it is you're trying to do, just go for it and accept that you're gonna make mistakes. I hate making mistakes. I'm a perfectionist at heart. I hate it, but I've learned so much from the different mistakes that I've made. I've learned, don't sew late at night because you're tired and you're gonna make stupid mistakes. Just go, yeah, just go for it. Just have so much fun, and if you learn that you don't like it, it's not wasted time because you learned something.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really good advice. And yep, oopses are going to happen. Embrace the oops. And
Yeah.
also one of the big lessons I've learned is don't drink and sew. Because you'll think it's the most
Similar
wonderful
to,
thing until the next day. And then you'll look at it and go,
yeah.
that's more than an oops. That's just a disaster. But
Funny,
well,
when I was seeing double last night, that did not look so bad.
yeah, it didn't look so bad then, but So before we end here, is there anything else you would like to say, or anything else you'd like us to know about you, your YouTube channel, or anything else?
Uh, no, just thank you so much for your time. This is very exciting, and I'm humbled very much so to have been invited.
I'm humbled that you are humbled because I I I am not, contrary to popular opinion, I am not a major celebrity on YouTube. I'm a major idiot, but I'm not a major celebrity with it all. Well, I want to thank you too, Shannon. This was absolutely delightful. You're a wonderful personality. You're warm. You're professional. You're talented. I know I'm making your face go
I
red,
know.
and that was my intent. No, not really, and all that kind of stuff. But people will be able to find your YouTube channel. I will have it in the show notes for this interview below, but it's Sleigh Arts on YouTube. Just do a search. Do you have a website or anything like that too? Or
I have Instagram, which is Sleigh Arts, and Facebook, though really Facebook is just everything copies over from Instagram, so you're not going to see anything special over there.
okay, well, I'm sure we're looking forward to more content on your channel, and I know there's going to be lots more. And well, stay on the line, but I'm going to say thank you so much again. Thank you for doing this. I really enjoyed it, and I know I'm going to be talking to you in the near future again. Uh,
Excellent.
so thanks very much, Shannon.
Thank you so much.